if we start with during the day, for most individuals, 90% of individuals get that morning light. I call it a photon shower, and that's either going outside or if it's winter, then sit in front of a light box. And the rule of thumb would be 10,000 lux or so for 30 minutes is a really robust way of setting the clock. Um, During the day, if you nap, be careful. If the fact that you might need a nap is telling you probably didn't get the sleep that you needed last night. But if you do nap, make sure it's not longer than 20 minutes or so. Because if it's longer, you can fall into a deeper sleep, and then recovery from that can actually make the whole nap a bit counterproductive. You just feel groggy. Where napping is really important to appreciate is in our youngsters. So, as we've said, the youngsters tend to be a delayed chronotype. So they'll go to bed late and they'll want to wake up late. But that can be exaggerated by social media. They're working until the early hours of the morning, doing whatever they do. So they get up, they struggle through the school day, and teachers tell me, literally, kids are falling asleep at the desk. They get home, and then they'll have a 2-hour sleep. And what that does is push back the sleep pressure, making it more difficult to get to sleep that night. So you've got the delayed chronotype of youngsters coupled with a reduction in sleep pressure, meaning you're not going to get that extended period of sleep at night. You wake up, or you don't wake up, you're woken up, you then struggle through the school day, and you can get into a really difficult cycle of longer and longer naps, and shorter nighttime sleep, and a failure to function optimally during the day. And as I say, that's a particular issue for our youngsters. Um, Exercise is very important. Do it during the day, but not too close to bedtime, because what that can do is raise up core body temperature, and a drop in core body temperature is important for getting us off to sleep. So yeah, exercise, ideally in the morning outside, because that does two things. It gives you the photon shower plus the exercise, but you can do it later in the day, that's fine, but make sure it's not too close to bedtime. um, your food intake, this is an interesting area. So we're geared up to do different things across the day. And so if you give individuals a constant infusion of glucose, you'll see that that glucose is absorbed and used up during the first half of the day, but it hangs around for much longer if you give it during the second half of the day. And as you're approaching bedtime and reduced activity, it won't be burnt up. So it'll then be laid down as fat or other forms of storage in the liver. And that can lead to a whole bunch of problems in terms of metabolic abnormalities and obesity, which will impact upon sleep. So try and minimize your calorie intake later in the day, if possible. Um, I think the really important issue is that you stop drinking coffee by 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, certainly no later, because it will delay sleep onset for the mechanisms we discussed earlier. And I think an absolutely key point is that most people don't have a sleep issue. It's an anxiety or a stress issue. So, what you must do is step back at the end of the day and do relaxation techniques. You may want to go to the gym to burn it off. What I do is go for a swim. And it's all about managing that stress, because that's the real enemy of sleep. As I say, most people don't have a sleep problem. It's managing anxiety and stress.